Welcome to the Unusual Suspects podcast. We are here at Turning Point USA's America Fest 2024, Phoenix, Arizona, and we have two very influential people in the conservative movement joining us today. We have Erin Elmore and Chrissy Clark. Ladies, how are you guys doing today?
Great. Having a blast.
Is this your first time appearing at a Turning Point USA AmFest?
Yeah, okay, technically AmFest, but I have been a Turning Point student since 2016, so I came to these when they were like 100 people.
Wow.
It's kind of wild.
So 8 years ago, how big and how different has the movement gotten over those past 8 years when you first started?
It's actually unreal because it was like 100 of us, and Charlie Kirk would sit on like the beach chairs with us and chat with us, and now it's this massive shift, but it's so cool to see so many people come into the fold because it was just like a Turning Point was just like a like a college organization. Yeah, it really was geared towards the kids, and now we got everybody, and it's just so cool to see it grow.
Well, and you can definitely see that the hard work has paid off. November 5th, it became a great day in American history. Honestly, I got to be honest, I was very nervous going into it. I mean, we look at what happened in 2020, and even then, I thought it was still too big to rig in 2020, and despite that, different outcome happened. But in 2024, it really was the outreach to, in my opinion, the outreach to the youth vote that Turning Point USA had a very large impact in doing. Charlie Kirk on TikTok, over 1 billion views to these young conservatives, young people who didn't know. Like the biggest thing that I think we learned from the 2024 election, I'd like both of your inputs on it. A lot of people didn't actually know how much they were being lied to by the government.
For sure.
And it was a company like Turning Point USA and a person like Charlie Kirk to be able to go out and influence conservative and even liberal students on college campuses, but also through digital. To both of you, the first question: what differences do you guys see in the 2024 election as opposed to the 2020 election when it comes to the youth vote in the United States?
Well, let me say this. Charlie was a big part of getting Donald J. Trump elected, but what he did was he touched on all of the hot button issues. He touched on the border. He touched on the fact that moms don't want boys in their girls' locker rooms, that we don't want boys in girls' sports. And he really drove home the point that this stuff is actually crazy. It is not founded in logic or science. And I think those needles really moved in the 2024 election. You know, as bad as our 4 years under Biden and Kamala were, I think they were necessary. I think they were necessary so people would see how bad things had gotten and how illogical things had gotten. And when we couldn't put food on our table and gas in our car, those kitchen table issues really mattered. And now we get to sort of see what it's like with Trump back. You know, to be back feels so good. And it's going to be fun. I think it's time to have some fun.
To your point, and then I'll go to you in just a second, but to your point about the groceries, the most maddening part of that was when you couldn't afford your groceries and then you were being told, no, your groceries are affordable. And then you're going, but no, I'm the one paying them. You, the vice president of the United States that makes $275,000, maybe groceries are affordable for you because it's on our tax dime.
For sure.
But for the average person, and my wife was the one, because I don't grocery shop, so a lot of men didn't feel that impact. My focus wasn't so much on that, but my focus was on border. My focus was on national security. But people like my wife, who was a Democrat for a very long time, looked at her grocery bill, our family's grocery bill, going up 3 times the amount of what we were spending 2 or 3 years ago, and saying, wait a minute, they're telling me that groceries are still affordable, but at the end of the day, my bank account's telling me that they're not.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
It was total gaslighting.
It is, and it was also the common sense that Charlie got very well is, yes, we can talk about issues like the border or grocery prices and all of that, but if you just break down these arguments to the most basic sense of what they are, I think it's really difficult to be a liberal when you actually break it down to its core. And Charlie did a really good job of exposing that to college kids. Because, yes, you can talk about, very thoughtful issues, but at the end of the day, they're not really dealing with the consequences of that. They live in their little college liberal bubble. And to expose it on just a very basic common sense level, I think that's what won the election, was common sense finally won.
That is
and a big thing too. The Republican side never developed a good ground game, and that's what Charlie did too. Is like they never went out in the Get Out to Vote initiative. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was a lack of effort by the Republican Party and the RNC, but they did that in a way this year that was never done before.
Well, and in 2024, Trump went to the voters. Whereas Kamala expected the voters to come to her, and they did not. But Trump was very innovative in his approach. A lot of that has to go towards the credit. He even gave his son credit for telling him to go on these podcasts. Yeah. But it's also the adaptation of reaching out via social media to these voters as opposed to TV, which nobody. I mean, my parents are the people that watch cable news, and that audience, unfortunately, is dying out.
Dwindling.
This is the new way to reach the voters through the cell phone, not through the TV, not through newspapers, and not even through radio anymore. It's platforms like this. It's people like this. It's not the mainstream media. When Musk says we're the news now, we are the news now.
And then you make a really good point. It's hard to be a liberal. We do the booking meeting. We try to keep it fair. Like someone from the right, someone from the left on the PV show. And it's so hard to get people from the left. Like we invite them, we talk to them, whatever. They just don't want to talk,
Because they don't have any logical talking points at all. And you know what? When you're talking about how the election was won, shout out to Turning Point friend Laura Trump and what she did at the RNC as the co-chair. She was making sure that these elections were free and fair. She was canvassing the country. And I was part of our women's tour, the ladies in the pink jackets. The Women for Trump tour, we went to so many different swing states. And we were talking to voters and talking to young women. And when I knew things were turning in a better direction is when we would go into these mini rallies and you would see all ages, all races, all creeds, all socioeconomic status, and everyone was pulling for Donald Trump. And they said, how can I get involved? So people are working the elections, running for local office, telling their friends to get out and vote. And I think that was a big part of it too.
And what helped get to that point, honestly, was one of the very early presidential debates that we were at where Vivek called out Ronna McDaniel and said, if you would like to step up and explain why we lost the midterms, why no red wave came, you can come and address, but you should step down now. And then she does get removed and Laura Trump takes over because for 3.5 years, or prior to that moment, 3 years, all we heard from the Republican Party was that the 2020 election had been stolen, but we didn't offer any solutions as to how to fix 2024. Yeah. And it drove me nuts just hearing, oh, well, it was rigged. What are we doing to actually stop it from being rigged in the future? Then comes Laura Trump, Ronna McDaniel steps down, and Laura Trump steps in, and then they go out and they secure the votes, they secure the voting and protect election integrity in the United States to a point where we actually had a free and fair election for the first time in 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Humberto.
No, Rob, I think you're wrong. They didn't say it was stolen or it was rigged. Like they didn't say it was stolen or rigged. The old school Republicans say oh, we shouldn't have chosen Donald Trump as a candidate. Yeah. You get what you deserve because they didn't even. Am I right?
That's a big systematic problem. I would say that 85% of Congress cannot be trusted. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, that's the next battle to fight because. Before Trump was actually the front runner, none of them were supporting him. And then when he, lost in 2020, they really didn't come to his defense. Yeah. And then Ronna McDaniel, I almost feel like that was fake opposition to a large degree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know who her uncle is.
And
Mitt Romney.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so when you talk about these, that is literally, I hate to use, what's the term?
Nepotism?
Yeah, nepotism would be fair.
Nipple baby.
Yeah.
And also, just to clarify, the chair of the RNC is Michael Whatley, who's speaking here, I believe, today, and Laura was the co-chair.
Okay, got it. And
she's amazing. What an articulate woman.
I know.
I was so impressed.
I want her to be president next.
She's so awesome.
She's wonderful.
Do you guys think that we will see a female president in the future?
And she will be a Republican.
100%.
Is she the next one?
Be a Republican. I don't know when it's going to come.
Sarah Sanders.
But that's a good one. I really do think that women are going increasingly Republican, not because of we keep hearing this lie about abortion. Mm-hmm. I actually think abortion is a great wake-up call for women because they realize how lied to they are by the Democratic Party. I have had so many friends in Illinois, let's say, they're like, oh, well, Roe versus Wade got overturned, so abortion's illegal. I'm like, girl, let's really dive deep into that. And as soon as they learn the facts, it really is a red pill moment for them. So as much as we decry the abortion movement, obviously it's awful and I'm advocating for it.
It's murder.
No, I know. I'm just saying it is a wake up red pill for a lot of people. I don't think they realize. So while it's an awful movement, it is a wake-up call. You got to be appreciative for the wins you can get.
It needs to be out of politics, totally. But that's the lie. They were perpetuating a lie about Roe v. Wade. And basically they'll say, I don't want 9 men in robes telling me what to do with my body. That's exactly what overturning Roe v. Wade said. It's basically we are not going to have this be a litigated issue on the federal level anymore. Yep. It's a states' rights issue. And on Florida, where many of us live, it was on our ballot this year. And the 8-week abortion ban stands.
What's crazy is, like, my sister-in-law, she is in her mid to late 40s. She has no children, has no ambitions to ever bear children or have kids. And her number one stance was Roe v. Wade. And I went, I can't understand. You're not going to get pregnant. You're never going to have children. This isn't going to affect you in any capacity. Why is this the only platform that matters for your vote? I can't.
And they frame it as women's health too. Like, older, what is that? That's brainwashing to the highest level. But, like, old women are saying, "I'm going to vote for my health. That's what's on the bill. My health."
To the two of you, why? Yeah. Like, to women who are not wanting to have children, why is that the only issue that they actually focused on and cast their vote for?
It's so emotional, and women are naturally empaths. It's a winning issue for them because they hone in on something that is just like natural to who we are. So of course. But the thing is that the right has actually come back and done that with border security and immigration. And I think it's been very effective at combating that. We didn't really have an issue like that before Biden's open immigration and open borders policy. And now to have that, security is going to come over the emotions. And I think that's why you saw a big shift between 2020.
Quick last question for abortion. Do you guys agree with what Reagan said and what Trump kind of affirmed by what Reagan said, the 3 exceptions with, was it life, health of the mother, and rape?
You can go first and then I'll answer.
Okay.
I hate the topic of abortion.
Right, well, I mean,
like,
yeah.
I know.
That's
kind of what Trump's been running on the kind
no,
of.
I think there's a difference between what I think personally and what I think is politically viable in America right now. And I think that having those exceptions, saying those things out loud, it just makes you more electable.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it's the best way to answer it as a non-answer is it's a states' rights issue.
Yeah.
And whatever happens in your state, you're part of that population. Yeah. You have the right to vote there just like everyone else does. And when I refer back, like the Ohio example, Ohio is a pretty conservative state, and they pretty much have abortion prolifically. Mm-hmm. And in Florida, we still the ban, the 8-week ban after 8 weeks of gestation. That's what we have. That's what passed in Florida on this current election cycle. So to me, the answer is whatever the people of your state choose is what you have to live with.
Yep.
And I'm okay that our constitutional republic functions in that fashion.
It's similar to and on a very minor level, it's similar to the marijuana laws
I'm stoked that didn't pass either.
Because I'm here in a state where marijuana is legal. Right now in Arizona. Florida, it is not. And a big thing that they talked about with the legalization of marijuana in Florida was that you didn't want to have to drive around and smell it. We were having dinner outside last night at a restaurant, and every 2 minutes, you would smell a car driving by, and the over-wafting smell of marijuana would come out of the car.
Yeah.
Now, look, what you do in your own home is up to you, and I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But when you're out in public and I'm trying to eat dinner with my coworkers, or if I'm with my children, the last thing I want is it's not a good smell.
No.
It's a very pungent but that's the point, is that it is now a states' right issue and not a federal one.
I love it.
It's illegal in Florida recreationally. It's legal here in Arizona recreationally. And what I can tell you when I look at it, I like the way Florida smells a lot better than what I've experienced in Phoenix so far.
That is so true. And think about moms pushing their strollers. I'm from a liberal city, Philadelphia, originally.
Oh, me too. Cool.
We have to discuss that. We got to talk about where we're going to eat. But the issue in liberal places is you go anywhere, you're pushing your baby's stroller, and it's like they're engulfed in marijuana. And in Florida, they have a medical license. So it's not like Florida's cracked down on this issue. It's medical. I'm glad that didn't pass either. We had a few ballot measures in Florida, and they worked out well.
prefer that the community decides for the community issues, which I feel like the Republican Party is very much behind, whereas the Democratic Party is, no, we're going to choose for everybody what says and what goes on every issue across the board.
It wouldn't be the name of the country, the United States. Like, if it wasn't important that each state to their own. If you want to be a hippie, smoke weed, and do all those crazy things,
go to Colorado.
Go to Colorado, go to California. If you want to live free, go to Florida. Best state in the...
I love it.
But across the country, you've seen that these bad policies have awful repercussions, right? You take a look at the defund the police movement when in Oregon. How long did that last? 3 years before they had to reenact and then refund the police because crime had gotten so out of control? They decriminalized mushrooms and marijuana and hardcore drugs in the cities.
And
then you look and they go, oh, that was a huge mistake. We shouldn't do that. So Pat always says it. Patrick Bet-David, the host of the PBD podcast, who we all work for, he says bad policies have bad consequences. Numbers scream louder than words. Tom Ellsworth says that. And what you see out of 2024, you said it, common sense made sense. And now we're back to the United States actually making sense again. A guy that has a penis shouldn't be peeing in a ladies' bathroom.
No.
A guy that has a penis shouldn't be competing against women in sports. These are not things that are far out ideas. They're actual common sense, but they gaslit all of us. You had mentioned gaslighting. They gaslit us all into believing that we were racist bigots, that were intolerant of transgender people if we just wanted to protect women. Nobody here I have a wife. Humberto, you have a wife. You want your wife going to the bathroom with a Brandon in there dressed in a dress?
I'd punch him in the mouth.
Dress.
I'd punch him immediately.
Do you ladies, I hate to like ask if
talk.
No, we don't have it.
I don't have a penis.
No.
Wow.
Look, I can look at both of you and tell that neither one of you had a penis. Do you guys feel more secure now knowing that we're back to common sense policies in the United States of America?
Not only secure, but we have intuition as women that we're just granted by biology. And I felt like for the last 4 years, I was told, ignore every biological intuition that you have and follow this insane logic. Now I feel like, okay, my gut feelings are finally being represented in Congress, and it's just nice to see biology win. Also, did you guys see that story about how they're trying to open up a third category now for trans swimmers?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? I love hearing people's opinion on this.
I would rather that though.
Wait,
Look, here's why.
Yeah.
If you want to have if you want them to compete, and I hate to say them, like it's like
I saw a furry here the other day, and I was on the phone with my husband. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what they're doing, and he's like, did you just use they them pronouns? I'm like, oh my god, Chewy.
Listen, I as a father that's raising 2 boys, I want them to compete in boys sports because it builds character, and not have them compete and beat women. And I also want women to be able to compete among women. But if trans individuals want to compete against trans individuals, I have no problem with that. It's just like I have no problem if there were trans-only bathrooms. In fact, I'd advocate for that. Go ahead and make a separate bathroom for transgender people. There's no reason to make you feel uncomfortable because somebody else is saying, well, my identity supersedes your security. That's not right, and that's not what the United States of America is about.
My manufactured identity.
Yeah. And listen, there is clearly, we're at the point where, and you couldn't have said this 3 years ago, but we can say this today without getting demonetized or getting a strike. Transgenderism is a mental disorder. And there's nothing wrong with having a mental disorder. People have bipolar, people have schizophrenia. In my opinion, transgenderism is the same thing. It is a mental disorder. And if you go and choose an elective route like surgery, you're never going to be able to actually fix the problem.
No.
You're exasperating the problem. The way to fix problems like that is through therapy, through counseling, through discussions, but it's certainly not, hey, you're 13, you're a tomboy, because tomboys don't exist anymore. You're 13, you're a tomboy. Hey, by the way, we can make you a penis, and you can identify as Larry instead of Laura, and you can go around and pee in the men's bathroom and compete in men's sports.
And by the way, don't Google the pictures of what those appendages look like.
Well, one of the hardest things...
Why would you ever do that?
Why would you ever do that?
That is a good question to ask. But, one of the hardest things is it's not the actual transition movement, it's the detrans movement. It's watching these young, impressionable teenagers who get accepted into a community. They go, oh, I feel like I was born in the wrong body. Then the transgender community embraces them. They go, you know what? You were. And here's some resources that can help you. And then they go and they get the elective surgeries. They go and they start on the medications. And then they decide a year into it, oh my God, this is wrong. I want to go back to the way I was. And what happens is the trans community then turns on them. They go, how dare you say you're not one of us anymore? So the same people who bring you into that community, who indoctrinate you into that community, who support you in that community, they tell you that you have a community of your own. They then turn on you and make these people feel alone, ostracized. And that's why you see these high suicide rates among people who have detransitioned. There's no support.
And allegedly shootings.
But it's also very interesting because I think this issue 4 years ago was a very empathetic issue of like, oh, just let people be who they want to be. Now I think women see it as a lot more like they can relate to a little bit more because we have had so many problems going to like the doctor and being told, oh, all your problems will just be solved if you get on birth control, And so we kind of see the phoniness that we've seen from the medical industry, and then being able to relate that experience, which all women have. We have all gone through that in some capacity, and I'm sure men have in a different capacity as well. And being able to compare that to the trans movement, which is like, oh, you feel that way? Here, we should just give you some cross-sex hormones. That'll fix your problem. Being able to actually empathize with that or sympathize with it's more effective, I think, and it's why we saw a shift of more people. I was just telling Erin pretty recently, I was out talking with my very, very liberal friend. 8 years ago, she was like, oh yeah, we have a trans student and this student is like amazing. Like they just use our bathroom and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the heck? And I was talking to her very recently and she was like, yeah, no, I just, I'm not on this issue anymore. I can't do this anymore. I just can't imagine putting this in my child. I'm like, oh, there we go.
I have a 15-year-old.
We're seeing people moving.
Yeah. And I have a 15-year-old who he goes to a charter high school for film. So it's very
cool.
left.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm a very active participant in his life. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you have like any transgender students in your school? And he said he did. And I said, what do you think about that? And he said, it's weird. And I went, okay, yeah, it is. And so we're on the same page.
You're a great parent then.
I feel like a lot of this goes to bad parenting. I feel like parents, they instead of actually being active in their children, do either one of you guys have children?
I have an 11-year-old son who is like more MAGA than Charlie Kirk.
Wow. And I love hearing that. Patrick Bet-David said the most conservative person in his family is his 12-year-old son, Tico.
Oh my gosh.
I love that the youth
so based.
Because guess
So
what?
based.
Because these are people that are very impressionable at a very young age, and what they're seeing is they're looking at this and they're going, hey, all this stuff that I'm being told is actually kind of crazy, and they're at 11 and 12 being able to identify it. But I think it's people hand over the devices to their children, and it's lazy parenting that has helped lead to this decline in morals across the United States. Parents just haven't been active in their children's lives, and that's why people like yourself, myself, I know Humberto wants to have children. Are you considering having kids?
Yeah, I just got
day?
married 2 months ago. So
Congratulations,
thanks,
a
guys.
newlywed.
Give it a minute, Rob.
Yeah,
sorry,
stop rushing me. No, I'm
Trying to
kidding.
rush everybody. But we're trying to get Brandon to have kids. I think the best way to continue to combat the liberal mindset in this country, the liberal woke mind virus, is by continuing to be fruitful and multiplying and raising good kids with great morals that have an actual backbone and an identity, as opposed to these liberal betas.
Yeah, 100%. That really goes full circle to what we were talking about before with the cost of living, because two parents have to work now for the majority of the time. Dual income thing's a pretty new thing that started in the 70s after we got off the gold standard. So what does that do? Inadvertently makes two parents have to work, so the kid has to be with somebody else the entire day. So the first 10, 12 years of a kid's life, instead of being with their parent now, is with somebody else, and God knows who that person is. So I think that's had a big impact on it too.
Erin, as a parent, how do you combat the woke mind virus in your 11-year-old?
Okay, well, first of all, I've been raising him as a Republican basically his whole life, and he's had the great fortune to have gone to Mar-a-Lago a bunch of times. He's met Donald Trump a lot. So I think, and he sees what I do for a living, so he's proud, and he hears all the issues. So I think it's always been a part of his life. And then if he ever espouses anything liberal, I say, whoa, hold on, let's talk about that. He's like, I have to get a vaccine to play golf. I was like, no, you don't. Have you heard of a religious exemption? And this is why. And you don't just put things in your body that you don't know what they do, and you don't just listen to the medical profession. We're going to work this out together. But I also fight with the school. Like parents, I always say the days of passive parenting are over. Mm-hmm. You cannot be you have to read what they're reading, check their text messages, look at every single solitary assignment, get the iBook. So what I did for all of the books, got the iBooks and saw that some of them were super woke. I just looked for swear words or certain sexual words, and then I would send those quotes back to the school. I got 6 books removed in the school.
Nice.
I got
well
I got a program removed. And also, I think the media can be helpful to us. I would send friends that are journalists, hey, can you write an article on this X, Y, and Z program saying how it's woke and it's in a lot of Florida schools? They knew it was me, but I wouldn't put our school in it. And then I would email the headmaster, be like, Florida schools are on the radar. You might want to think about removing this.
It's smart.
Wow.
Scare them.
Yeah.
Diabolical.
And you know what it is? Truth, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
100%. And what she said, she's raising her kid a Republican. That might sound shocking to some people, but that's what liberals did like the last 40 years.
Yeah.
They raised their kids liberal. And
the parents who didn't raise their kids liberal, their children were raised liberal through the mainstream media.
In
someone
schools,
else.
education.
Yep.
Television,
And
Disney Channel.
And I think the biggest political statement and change you can do right now is to have kids. Have kids and raise them well, because that's the future of
That's
America.
rebellious in our
That's the
culture
most
right now.
rebellious thing.
Yeah.
Have 10 kids and raise them well. That's the best thing you can do for this country.
We have very limited time. Ladies, before both of you guys leave, I have one question for you, and then I'd like to promote wherever people can find you. The final question. We are just 30 days away from the inauguration of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States. How optimistic are you about the future of this country come January 20th, 2025? Chrissy, we'll go with you first.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I said, common sense is making a comeback. My gut feelings are finally going to be taken seriously. I just genuinely feel like our cities are going to get safer. Funding for police is going to go up. We're going to stop funding these endless wars. I feel like we're going to see peace in the world. I have so much hope that I truly didn't have 2 months ago.
Erin?
I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled. You know, having been in this fight since 2015, I went through the being canceled and losing friends.
Of course.
And then in 2020 with COVID, I was told I was crazy. So now I feel like to all the haters, we are so back.
We're
Yeah,
so
baby.
And to
back,
all the,
baby.
like when people are like all in on this now, I'm like, you know what? Thanks for the congratulations. But in 16, when I was canceled, I didn't remember you standing up for me. And when I was railing against COVID, I didn't see you standing up for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll totally get your cousin, sister's, uncle's convicted felon boyfriend a job at the White House.
This is going to sound weird. We're going to wrap up. The sense of patriotism that I feel in this country right now, and it's weird to compare the two, but I have not felt this way since September 12th of 2001.
Yes.
I have not felt that this country has been as united as it is today. And despite how dark the times were then, we as a country united. It didn't matter if you were black. It didn't matter if you were white. It didn't matter if you were Democrat. It didn't matter if you were Republican. We all wanted what's best for this country, and I feel like we're back to that path. Now, the left still doesn't want what's best for this country, but there are more than ever people converting to the side of we want what's best for this country, what's best for the future of our children, and what's best for the world. And right now, we're in a better position than I think we've ever been to have all three of those. Erin Elmore and Chrissy Clark, where can everybody find you guys at?
On X, I'm Erin Elmore. And on Twitter, just Erin M. Elmore.
How about you, Chrissy?
I'm sorry, Instagram. Sorry.
Instagram.
You can find me across platforms. Best way to do it is just Google my name, Chrissy Clark, and my show, Underreported Stories.
Unreported.
Underreported. It's 5 stories if you turned into CNN, MSNBC, or Fox, you would not hear about.
Oh, I love that. When do you do that?
Every Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So make sure you go and see that Underreported Stories with Chrissy Clark. Erin Elmore, also on all socials. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your time here at Turning Point USA. And for you at home that's watching, if you have not done so already, please like and subscribe, support the channel so we can continue to have great conversations with great Americans like this. Until next time, my name is Rob Gargiulo for Brandon, Humberto, and our cast, Chrissy and Erin Elmore. Thank you for joining us. Take care. God bless, and bye-bye.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.